Well, hello everyone. You are watching Buzz TV, and right now you're watching The Time of Your Life. And let me tell you, it is the time of my life, because when I realized I was going to have the opportunity to interview and talk with Dr. Val Zudans, and I also discovered that your first name is John.
That is actually true. My middle name is short for Val.
Well, we love Val, and of course, listening and knowing you for all these years. Dr. Zudans, of course, you are an ophthalmologist, and I hope I'm giving you that right title, because you do so much. You do surgery, you do all the specialties at Florida Eye Institute, so we just call you Dr. Val Zudans, right?
Just don't call me late for dinner.
Absolutely. Right. Well, I'm so delighted to have you here, because to really talk about the time of your life, and you think about how you want to age properly, and one of the most important things is your eyes. I want to talk to you in this first segment about how do your eyes age, because as a child, how are they focusing? How do you know? I see babies with glasses on practically.
Okay, that's a couple questions. I mean, my practice, and I'm an ophthalmologist, as you said, and the ophthalmology training is you go to medical school and then you do an internship, a general internship, and then you do a residency specific to ophthalmology. And we focus a lot on disease. So most of my patients are actually older patients. Most of my patients are over 65, and because that's when most diseases of the eye, medical diseases of the eye, like cataract, glaucoma, macular degeneration, other age-related conditions show up. And that's where there's a lot of pathology, where there's diseases. A lot of younger patients they can see an ophthalmologist, but a lot of times they will see optometrists who are more in tune with glasses, contacts, things like that, which is not really considered medical. It's considered more of what we refer to as refractive problems, things that are correctable with glasses, non-surgical, non-medicine type things. But there is overlap too.
But is your eye literally aging? I mean, is it the retina that's changing? Is it what's growing from an infant right on up to the elderly? Absolutely. Your aging processes are going on. Cataract, the most common surgical procedure I perform, is related to inside of our eye. There's a lens, and there's made out of proteins, and the proteins go through a process called denaturing, which is just a time-related change in the properties of the proteins. Eggs are made out of protein. The white of the egg is much like the lens of the eye, and when you cook an egg, it's denaturing that protein, and that's why it turns from clear to white. And pretty much the same problem is happening with cataracts, where just time causes denaturing of those proteins within the lens, and they become more opaque, more cloudy. And then eventually, when I do cataract surgery, I do a lens exchange. I take the cloudy lens out, put a new lens in. The retina is different. The retina is there are actually deposits that are forming, waste from metabolic processes that are going on in the retina. The retina tissue is like the film in a camera, and it's converting light to an electrical signal that sends to the brain to tell your brain what you're seeing. That there's a very high level of metabolism going on in the retina, and there are deposits, metabolic waste, things that cause degeneration of that retina over time. So this is, and this is what we're really going to talk about. I was going to just kind of wrap that up after this first segment, because we're going to go on for quite some time on this show called The Time of Your Life. But I do want to come back. We're going to take a little break right now and come back and continue that talk about, because you mentioned about heat, and I want to know how important it is to wear sunglasses all the time. So we will be right back. Don't go away.
One-of-a-kind videos, unique perspectives, original programming, only on Buzz TV Network. Spread the word and tell a friend.
Listen up, America. This is an important medical alert for anyone suffering from back or knee pain. If you or a loved one suffers from back or knee pain and have Medicare as your primary insurance, you can qualify for a pain-relieving back or knee brace at little or no cost to you. Stop living in pain because the brace you need is too costly. Call Listen Up America right now for more details. The call is free and there's no obligation.
Please call 800-299-6799.
Well, we are back as promised, and I'm here with Dr. Val Zudans, and of course he is an ophthalmologist, and really when we talk about, you're a specialist. You do so many different things at Florida Eye Institute. You're also a member of our hospital district. We're going to be talking about that a little bit later in the show, but Dr. Zudans, I would like to go kind of continue on with how the eye actually ages. You mentioned, of course, when I'm thinking about that egg that is kind of a clear thing, and then you cook it and it gets hot, and it's very liking to the way your eye is. What about sunglasses? How important is it to wear sunglasses?
Okay, just to clarify, the aging change that takes place in the lens where it denatures and it gets cloudy, it's not really from the lens being heated up. I was using the egg as an example.
The sun?
It's not really heating up that lens.
Okay.
It's just more over time, energy being delivered to the lens, like ultraviolet, things like that. And there are some suggestions that sunglasses may slow that down, may slow down the development of cataract, but it's not completely clear.
Does the
that
sun hurt your eyes? Damage your eyes, I should say.
Sure. It can. It can help the lens to get cloudy faster, and it can put some stress onto the retinal tissues. But even like the window of your car blocks out a lot of ultraviolet light. Most people are wearing sunglasses. It's very comfortable in Florida to have sunglasses on to reduce all that, and I think that does help. Our pupil also gets really small when we're out in bright lights, which cuts down dramatically on the amount of light going on. So we have almost like a built-in adaptation that helps to reduce the total amount of light that we're getting to our retina. So
it's amazing what God did to create a human being, to get that eye, I mean, and even with the sun, maybe it was, I never wore sunglasses even when I played tennis. And I keep thinking maybe that was why, as I grew older, at this time of my life, that maybe, not wearing those sunglasses was very important. But I want to talk about some of the diseases that happen. You mentioned, of course, various diseases that come on as you age. But this is that month of macular degeneration. It's aging macular degeneration. What is macular degeneration?
So the macula is the center part of the retina. It's the most important part of the retina. It's what does your central vision, where you can read and recognize faces, see fine details. And there's a variety of factors that go into what makes the retina degenerate with age. It is called age-related macular degeneration, so there is an age component. It's much more common in patients in their 70s and 80s. There's a genetic component, but there are also environmental factors that go into this. Actually the number one risk factor for getting worse with macular degeneration other than age is smoking. Smoking is devastating to your retinas. And it's interesting, you can tell people that they're going to get cancer from smoking, they're going to have emphysema from smoking, and they may not quit, but if you tell them that they may lose their vision, especially if they have a strong family history of macular degeneration, it sometimes will prompt them to make a lifestyle change that's really good for them. There's also a lot of dietary issues. Dark green leafy vegetables have two pigments, lutein and zeaxanthin, that are outstanding at helping to reduce your risk of macular degeneration.
Terrific news.
Yeah.
So diet has so much to do with it as well. We're going to take a little break in just a moment. Once again, come back though and talk. I really want to talk about, because you were talking about how some of the foods are good and so on. I want to talk about, because I just read an article about obesity that Dr. Val Zudans said that was one of our biggest problems. We have to be able to concern ourselves with that. And also, when I looked at Judge Scalia, he was not a thin man. So we're going to be talking about that and how it deals with, of course, eyesight and the time of your life. We'll be right back.
Buzz TV Network is now the fastest growing new media outlet in Florida. Watch BuzzTVNetwork.com.
Victims of mesothelioma and their loved ones may be entitled to receive a cash reward from over $18 billion in asbestos trust funds now available. If you or a loved one was diagnosed with mesothelioma, call the number on your screen now. Even if a loved one has passed due to mesothelioma, you may still be entitled to a cash reward. Time is limited. Call now.
Please call 800-970-0240.
Plant your business in the Buzz TV ID Garden and watch your buzziness grow. Make a 15-second business video ID. Plant your video ID in Buzz TV programs. Then spread your video ID on social media and watch your buzziness grow on Buzz TV.
are back with Dr. Val Zudans of Florida Eye Institute. And I guess really, Dr. Zudans, it's so important to realize that every single thing we do in our lives, and when we reach the time of our lives, and the elderly and of course the seniors, you want to be healthy, to enjoy it. And I know with the hospital, and you as a member of the hospital district here, the Indian River Medical Center, you're really dealing with that, and you see that. And how does obesity affect your eyes, and what does that have to do with your later in life, that time of your life?
It's politically not correct to say this, but
Go ahead.
Most of our health problems are related to what we eat, and secondarily what we do as far as physical activity. And it goes to primarily type 2 diabetes, which is weight related. And almost all patients who have type 2 diabetes, if they really change the way they ate and change their level of activity, they could dramatically reduce the seriousness of the disease, and sometimes even get off all the medications and cure the disease. And so until we figuring out how to get people to want to be healthy and want to be fit and to make the changes that they need to make, that's not easy to change patterns and lifestyles. But if we could do that, it would be the most impactful thing for the health of our community, for any individual's life.
It's so amazing. I think of it and I liken it to, of course, smoking. When people you know are brilliant, they're smart, and they have read and they know this, but it's an addiction that is so difficult to overcome. And obesity, I would imagine, is the same. Why is it that I'm thinking, when I hear the word diabetes, and it is in my family, that it's blindness?
Yeah, well, in my field, in ophthalmology, diabetes can be devastating to the vision, because in the retina, again, it can cause leaking. Actually, throughout your body, diabetes causes damage to the blood vessels that cause them to leak. So in the retina, you can have bleeding in your eye, you can have swelling in your retina, you can have abnormal blood vessels that can cause excessively high eye pressure, in severe cases, retinal detachments, all kinds of really awful problems that were preventable.
You know what I love, though? The thing about talking with Dr. Val Zudans, and if you're just tuning in, Dr. Val Zudans, who is an ophthalmologist, he's a trustee with our Indian River Medical Center, and he's talking about how we as a community can really make the time of your life so much better. And I love what you're saying, because so many times, and this is a statement I have always loved, don't tell me your problems, give me a solution. And you are giving us that solution. You're saying if we just realize that diet and exercise and those, as you mentioned, leafy greens, and there's all that availability as far as information.
Yeah, I think sometimes people are trying to do that, but they don't necessarily have the information they need about what really is truly healthy. They think they're even eating healthy or doing good things, and they're not always. And so we're actually probably dietitians and those people can help make a bigger impact sometimes than the doctor. I'm treating it when it's at the point where it's
past the
problem.
point.
And I try and instruct my patients on how you can try and prevent these problems, but it doesn't always work that way.
You know what I want to do? I want you to go into all the schools and talk to the kids, get them started. The parents have to know this, because there is a solution. And in many cases, of course, it's uncontrollable. But when I look and I go into some of these grocery stores and I see what some of these really obese people are putting into their basket, wow. We're going to be right back in just a moment with Dr. Val Zudans talking about the time of your life and good eye care.
Stop dirty, unread newsprint clogging our landfills with waste. Go green. Save a tree. Watch Buzz TV.
Have you or a loved one been prescribed the blood thinner medication Xarelto? Xarelto has been linked to serious injuries, including internal bleeding of the brain or gastrointestinal system, cerebral hemorrhage, and even death. At the law offices of Jacoby & Myers, we've been bringing compassion and experience to our clients for over 40 years. Jacoby & Myers is now taking claims from those injured as a result of taking Xarelto. You won't pay a thing unless your case is settled.
Please call 800-536-6093.
Well, if you are just tuning in, you are watching Buzz TV. And of course, we are in the Buzz TV Art Gallery, as a matter of fact, as we discuss good eye care and the time of your life with my very distinguished guest, Dr. Val Zudans. And of course, anybody who's been here for any length of time knows Val, because you've been here for how long now?
Since 2002, so
2002?
it'll be 14 years.
All right.
This summer.
At Florida Eye Institute, and of course, knowing that we are in Vero Beach, Florida, wherever you are, of course, you can watch us on Buzz TV and learn about good eye care by watching and listening to what Val Zudans has to say. We were talking about some of the diseases, and of course diabetes is one of them. But when I mentioned the fact that there are solutions, what would you say as a doctor? As you mentioned, you treat the disease sometimes after it's already too late for them. But what would you say if we were talking about some of the options for eye care that have advanced now? I mean, it just seems to me we are just discovering so many wonderful things.
That is absolutely true. It's one of the best. I think it's a great field. I wouldn't choose any other area of medicine to practice.
I know you said that. So,
yeah, I actually like my work. I like going to work. I like, my favorite day of the work is my surgery day. The biggest change, like the most recent change that I've had in the last 2 years with cataract surgery is what we call no drop cataract surgery. And this is something that patients love and I love. What it is, and it's a pretty simple idea. They've been doing this for about 10 years in Europe. They give antibiotics in the eye at the conclusion of cataract surgery, and they give a steroid underneath the eyelid at the conclusion of the cataract surgery. And instead of taking drops multiple times a day for a month after surgery,
confusing.
Which patients, if you've ever watched a patient try and put a drop in their eye, it's very hard, and they miss the drops. And it turned out that the way they were doing it in Europe, they had about 5 times lower risk of infection with giving them medications. It saves the patient a few $100s and a whole lot of frustration. The phone calls to our office have gone down dramatically. Patients are happy. Patients whose relatives have had surgery in the past, now they're taking care of their significant other, and they can't believe that they don't need drops. That's actually been pretty rewarding.
Do you know, this is so wonderful
Simple
to hear,
idea, though.
because, well, but it just makes so much sense. I know when we used to do so many interviews, and you would talk about even putting a needle in here, a needle in there, and I'd go, oh, like that. But of course, this is no drops, no drops,
no needles, no stitches.
So that is
pretty amazing cataract surgery. Yeah.
So for a lifetime, though, because in many cases, not many cases, but I have seen young children with glasses. What has caused that? Why would, I mean, like 2 and 3 or not 3, or maybe 4-year-olds, 4 and 5.
So under the age of 5 is when almost all of your vision is being developed in your brain. Your brain is learning how to see. And if your vision is out of focus at that young age, your brain does not develop properly in the areas that are involved with the vision, and that's permanent. If you get past the age of 5 without fully developed vision, you'll never have good vision. So in order for the brain to be able to learn at that young age, you have to correct any nearsightedness, farsightedness. If the eye is too long, too short, too curved to give sharp focus, the glasses compensate.
But then what would you say, because we're talking about the time of your life, which of course we think is as you grow older, I think. But I want to come back in just a moment and have you talk about that aging eye and how important that young eye is to make sure your time of your life is wonderful. Because as you mentioned, your brain has a lot to do it, and there is an age factor, isn't it?
Sure.
All right, we're going to be right back with Dr. Val Zudans. Don't go away.
During the course of the past 100 years, advancements in technology have dramatically changed forever the manner in which people worldwide interact and now connect and communicate with one another. Welcome, Buzz TV.
If you or someone you love is suffering from addiction to drugs or alcohol, National Rehab Recovery has an important message for you. Each year, we lose hundreds of thousands of our family members and loved ones to drug and alcohol-induced causes. If you have insurance or the ability to pay for 30 days of treatment, National Rehab Recovery can change your life. Medicare and Medicaid are not accepted at this time. The call and confidential consultation is free.
1-800-577-5446.
Well, we are back indeed on the time of your life, and Dr. Val Zudans is talking about eye care. We're talking really about so many things and how we can do, but you mentioned a little bit about the youngster and how important that first, the first 5 years actually of your life. Tell me about that.
Well, so as we were saying, your brain is learning how to see. So everything has to be working properly within the eye for your brain to be able to get a good image to learn to see 20/20 or the normal level of vision.
Yeah.
So the first 5 years is really just learning how to see, and then the rest of your life is maintaining that. So that's, if you want to look at it from how it affects aging, it's you get through that first 5 years and you develop full vision, and that's where pediatric ophthalmologists or just actually the pediatricians in town are outstanding at screening these patients to figure out who may not be developing to a full level and making sure they get.
Do parents know about it?
Sometimes, if their child's eye will turn in or turn out, that's a very big red flag that one eye may not develop properly, but not always. And so what the pediatricians are doing is they're screening, and they actually have devices in their offices where they can measure to see whether one eye is significantly different in prescription than the other, which is a setup for failure.
Is there a symptom, though, that we should look for as parents?
Not always, because we have two eyes, and what often happens is one eye is developing normally and the other eye is not. And if their eyes are not crossing, you may not recognize it. And it really does help that the pediatricians are screening for development of the eyes at a young age and making sure that patients get the proper referrals.
You know, this is so important. I am learning so much, and I hope you are too, with Dr. Val Zudans, of course, with Florida Eye Institute. But we're talking about the time of your life, and it does start right at that age, and to have good eye care. But when we talked about much of the advancements, you were talking about no-drop cataract surgery and macular degeneration. We've talked about that. We've talked about diabetes. Are we doing research, though, to discover anything else that maybe just, I remember my dad had cataract surgery, and it was very dangerous, though, back in those days.
Totally non-dangerous now. I mean, there's no such thing as a zero-risk procedure, but it works very well. I actually think one of the most interesting things is that in medicine, and it's not really gotten to ophthalmology yet, but is that there's a whole change in paradigm about disease where there are that they're starting to treat aging itself as a disease and looking for ways to stop and reverse aging. And some of the stuff that's out there is pretty amazing. That it's complex, but cells have a limited number of times that they can divide and reproduce, and it's controlled by something called a telomere on the end of genes. Wow. And as they get shorter, the cell ages, and it eventually is programmed to lead to cell death. But they figured out ways to add telomeres on the end of the cells and make the cells behave in a younger way. And I think it'll change dramatically how we look at a lot of age-related disease in the long run. And this is not that far off.
This is so wonderful. Oh, too bad it wasn't about 40 years ago for me, but it is wonderful. In fact, I was just listening to someone talk about how they're coming up with some way that they are revamping the cells that can attack cancer as well. So the cells are so vitally important. We are talking with Dr. Val Zudans. We've got one more segment we're going to be talking about. And I do want to talk about, if you don't mind, a little bit about your position with our Indian River Medical Center as a trustee. So we'll come back and talk about that as well, because I know there was a big headline, and Dr. Val Zudans said obesity was one of our biggest problems. We will be right back. Stay with us.
Plant your business in the Buzz TV ID garden and watch your buzziness grow. Make a 15-second business video ID. Plant your video ID in Buzz TV programs. Then spread your video ID on social media and watch your buzziness grow on Buzz TV. The fun is happening at Vero Social Club on North US 1, where friends meet for bingo every Tuesday and Thursday. Doors open at 10, with luncheon served, and the games begin at noon. Then Vero Social Club opens up the dance floor Thursday nights for social dancing. And weekends, Vero Social Club heats up. Check the website for Latin Night special events. And each Sunday, dance to hip-hop all night long. Go to VeroSocialClub.com. Vero's #1 party destination. Vero Social Club, 7500 North US 1.
Well, we are back indeed with Dr. Val Zudans, and of course he's not only an ophthalmologist and one of the best in the whole wide world. He's over there at Florida Eye Institute, but I got to tell you, he's also a trustee with our Indian River Medical Center right here in Indian River County, Florida, if you're watching us wherever you are all over the world. But I think it's wonderful to know that you as an ophthalmologist, I don't ever recall an ophthalmologist being a member of the hospital board or trustee.
Okay, so just a little clarification as to what the position I am. There's a lot of confusion. There are actually two boards. There is a board that's running the daily operations of the hospital, which is the hospital board of directors. I am not on the hospital board of directors. I am on the Indian River Hospital District, which is an elected position. There are 7 district members. And they really should call it the Indian River Health District, because it's more involved with all kinds of things in our community, like the VNA and the health department and Gifford Health Center and the hospital, where part of your property taxes go to this hospital. They call it hospital district, and then it gets distributed to these organizations, and we have a responsibility. The district itself owns the hospital and leases it to the corporation that runs the hospital, and we have an oversight and responsibility to make sure that this asset of our community, it's owned by the community, the hospital is, and it's the biggest part of the budget, and make sure that they're doing a great job, and they are, and our other organizations are doing a great job as well. But I sit on the district, not on the direct running of the hospital.
So don't call him.
Yeah, don't call me with the complaints about
the nurse didn't bring this or that. That's not it. But what I love is that correlation between our hospital and the district, because our tax dollars, as you say, definitely goes there. Yeah. But you have an oversight committee, which of course is are the trustees.
Right, and our goal is really to try and improve the health of our community. And
you said obesity was one of the biggest problems.
I do believe it is. I think what we put into our body and what we do with our body, whether we're doing strength training and cardiovascular exercise, is it. And I think eating the wrong things, eating too many simple sugars, simple carbohydrates, is what is causing diabetes, which is driving heart disease, strokes, all of these unhealthy things, and actually is just making us very unhealthy.
Absolutely, and costing a great deal of money. When you think about insurance and costs like that, I mean, it costs people who do have insurance. It all rolls back to that. So when you see someone who is obese, and then you see that they're feeding their children all these candies and various things like that, what can you do?
Well, I don't think that any mother wants to harm their child, but they don't necessarily understand what the consequences of doing that. The child obviously wants that, and it's convenient and it's harder to actually prepare the healthiest meals and to do these things. And I know that all the kids who are getting this at school, Michelle Obama meals are throwing them in the trash. That's what they say.
Well, no, but at least they see it and they know what's there. We've got to wrap this up, and it's been absolutely wonderful talking with the time of your life, my very first guest on the time of your life, Dr. Val Zudans. We're going to get you back really and talk much more about this, because the aging eye, what you see, and now, of course, your whole correlation with getting the community involved to be healthy, that is so vitally important. Will you come back?
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Dr. Val Zudans, Florida Eye Institute, and a trustee with our Indian River Medical Center. We hope you've enjoyed this edition of It's the Time of Your Life.
Video is now essential to your brand, and Buzz TV can help your business website stand out. Buzz TV is a full-service video production company creating video to highlight what you do best. Email buzztvnetwork@gmail.com.